this episode gave me chills all while I was smiling from ear to ear. Why? Because so many of our predictions, yours in the comments and mine in my videos, came true. It's nothing short of incredible how spot on we were about most of it. Now yeah, sure, a lot of it was perhaps obvious or easy to predict. Horizons did provide us with plenty of clues to piece together after all. But still, it's a rare and fantastic treat when a series so thoroughly delivers on everything it teased, foreshadowed, built up, and alluded to. It's not only proof of superb writing and the value of every little breadcrumb we got along the way and the episodes we got them from, but also a reward to us for not just sticking around watching the show each week, but also for paying attention, for analyzing every detail, and for desperately searching and longing for answers. And it's not just that our predictions were spot on. What truly makes this episode magnificent is just how many things were revealed and how they raised the stakes in such a meaningful way. The implications of these revelations are enormous, not just for Liko and company, but also for the entire narrative moving forward. This episode was everything I hoped for and then some. It truly went above and beyond, becoming one of the most important and significant episodes in this series thus far. Now of course, this episode did not spend its entire duration marbling us with big reveal after big reveal. This all happens in the second half. The first half focuses on reintroducing Diana, who reveals that she learned of the location of Liko and company from Luca, and she traveled all this way on Arcanine. Which sounds crazy and unbelievable until you remember that lore-wise, Arcanine is capable of running 6,200 miles in 24 hours with speed and grace reminiscent of flight. Yeah, there's a reason why extreme speed used to be its signature move. Though I imagine it must have been quite a trip to ride on an Arcanine at top speed, confirming that Diana is a badass. Anyways, I love that she gets to see that all the starters evolved and that they and their trainers are looking more lively and energetic. It's always nice to see a character return to marvel at and highlight how other characters grew or changed in their absence. Of course, Diana is not here to make small talk. She has new information about Lucius to share, but she won't just give it up for free. She will only spill the beans if Liko battles her. Now the episode cuts to the opening here, and I just want to point out that it changed visually. I don't know if this happened in this episode or if it happened in a previous one, and I simply did not notice. Nowadays, I only watch openings once, the first time, and then I just hear them while I do something else before focusing back on the episode once the opening ends. But anyways, we now see Geeta and her Glimora, suggesting that she will return and be important soon. It's interesting that she's clearly at the Pokemon League, specifically where you battle her in the games. So could Liko and friends face her in the future? It's possible, and it would of course be crazy and hype. We also see Entei, who is of course very likely the next hero Liko and company will find, but it's not alone. Its fellow legendary beasts are with it. Whether this is just a cool visual thing, you know, because it's nice to see legendary Pokemon duos and the trio side by side, or it means Suicune and Raikou will appear as well, is anyone's guess at this point. The latter would of course be insane and amazing. So Liko and Diana engage in a battle that, while short, is decently fun and entertaining with a nice bit of intensity and emotional weight to it that makes it a delight to watch. And it begins with Floragato using Magical Leaf. Arcanine counters with extreme speed, closing in fast while avoiding the Magical Leaf. However, Liko has Floragato endure the hit, allowing the Magical Leaf to circle back and land a hit on an immobilized Arcanine who counters with Flamethrower. But Floragato nimbly avoids it and lands a hit with Acrobatics. this pattern of swift attacks and evasive maneuvers continues, chipping away at Arcanine. Diana is impressed, which makes her get serious, a demeanor that is far removed from the Diana we know. She has Arcanine use Flare Blitz. Floragato counters with Magical Leaf, but there's no stopping the fiery charge, forcing Floragato to avoid it instead, though she can't do so fully. However, despite being graced by one of the strongest fire-type moves, she refuses to stay down. Impressive and admirable. Also, I love how Arcanine kept going, crashed into the defensive wall, and then rolled back like a good boy. Arcanine uses Flare Blitz again, only for Floragato to counter it by avoiding it with a well-timed Sucker Punch that also lands a clean hit. However, it turns out that Arcanine's ability is justified, so Sucker Punch gives it a power boost. Things are looking dire for Liko, but she is undeterred. She responds with a power boost of her own, Terastal, which I have to say surprised me. I did not expect Liko to use Terastal in this battle, seeing as she is not up against a hero or other super powerful opponent. Instead, she is up against a trainer, one without Terastal at that. If Diana had Terastal, then it would be understandable. Though I guess justified is a stand-in for Terastal in this case, allowing Diana to have some sort of boost that forces Liko to use Terastal, which is integral to her growth and development, something this battle obviously aims to highlight. Having her not use Terastal would lessen this, but using it against an opponent without it would feel like overkill. So I like how they went about setting this up, even if it is quite convenient that out of the 3 abilities Arcanine can have, Diana's Arcanine just so happens to have the only one that would provide a power boost in this situation. Basically, you could say Liko's use of Terastal in this battle is justified. So, Arcanine uses Flare Blitz once more. Knowing that Magical Leaf won't work head-on, Liko instead has Floragato target Arcanine's legs, which makes it stumble, allowing Floragato to close in and land one final, powerful Magical Leaf that defeats Arcanine. So yeah, this battle was nothing special, but for what it was pretty good. Especially since it wasn't supposed to be one epic battle or anything like this. Its purpose was to allow Liko to show her grandmother how much stronger she is now. Something she did successfully. Diana got to marvel at her granddaughter's amazing growth all throughout the battle, praising her at every turn, and once the battle was over, she complimented Liko even more. I have always loved how beautiful and close their bond is, and this episode elevated it even further, which is wonderful, showing just how much they care for one another. Also, seeing Liko win a trainer battle so expertly and against an opponent that is no pushover and have a type advantage no less is so nice to see, especially with how happy it makes her. Well deserved. With the battle over, it's time for Diana to finally reveal what she discovered about Lucius. Which means, it's time for the best part of the episode, the parade of amazing revelations. It all begins with a picture of Diana and Amber looking like he came straight out of a Sherlock Holmes novel or something when they were young. It's worth mentioning that he has a Dusclops here, meaning it had yet to evolve into the Dusk Noir it is today. Diana uses this picture to explain her relationship with Amber. They used to adventure together from time to time. However, one day, just a year ago, he revealed that he was after the pendant she gave to Liko, and he had an organization backing him up. This led to the hiring of Fried and Company to protect Liko, which is of course how her journey and this series began. When Diana reunited with Amber at her castle, which was back in episode 25, she learned that the organization behind them is called the Explorers, a name she recognized and she reveals why. It turns out that this group was founded by none other than Lucius himself. This is where I began to feel the chills. I predicted this in my preview discussion for this episode, and even before that I knew Lucius had some sort of connection to the explorers. Still, this revelation is no less powerful, especially for Liko and company who are flabbergasted, unable to believe that Lucius was part of the group they can only see as evil. Of course, the train of twists and turns does not end here. Diana reveals that she left the group, which was back in episode 34, so that she could investigate the explorers and their origins. She searched all over the world for answers, and she eventually found them when she visited a town Lucius himself supposedly visited 100 years ago. Here, she spoke with people that were around back then, or that have records of or know people that were. This allowed her to zero in on information about not just Lucius, but also his friends, two specifically who formed the explorers with him. Rystal, whose name we learned in the previous episode, and Gibeon. Dun dun dun! So I was right when I said that the man here in the opening with Lucius is Gibeon. The chills, of course, intensified greatly here. While they know who Rystal is, they have no idea who Gibeon is. Except for Liko, that is, who recounts what Amedeo told her back in episode 65, something she neglected to mention prior to this moment. Much to everyone's shock. Orla comments on something I'm sure we are all wondering. How is Gibeon still alive after 100 years? She mentions that he is likely too old to be Amedeo's grandfather. As we'll see later, this is true, so there's more to this story. I do love that Ludlow mentions that he must learn from Gibeon when it comes to longevity. Now Fried makes an interesting point, that maybe the one currently leading the explorers is not the actual Gibeon, but someone using the name. This is something I think I mentioned before, how maybe Gibeon is like a title that is inherited, and it simply means the one who leads the explorers. That, or that going by this name carries a special kind of weight and meaning. Perhaps the Gibeon that is currently around is actually Amedeo's often mentioned with scorn but not yet seen father, who inherited more than just the name of his ancestor. Who knows? There's definitely a big mystery that still needs to be solved. Diana proceeds to drop yet another bombshell. The current Gibeon is also head of the Exceed company, the very same company that Fried worked for, that he investigated back in episode 54, and that was researching the Eternal Blessing, aka Lacuium. This revelation is a bit surprising. I think I did not predict it, even though I probably should have, considering that Spinel was skulking around the company when Fried went looking for answers. Maybe I said something to the effect that the Explorers and Exceed are working together, but I'm pretty sure I never drew such a clear connection between them. In any case, Fried never heard of a Gibeon when he worked there, and no one currently working there has either, according to Diana's investigation. So Gibeon remains an enigma, leading both organizations from the shadows. Seeing that the explorers want to reach Lacua and that the Exceed company is researching Lacuium, Liko and company put two and two together, given the similarity between the names Lacuium and Lacua. They realize that Lacuium comes from Lacua, and this is what the explorers are after. Something we already knew, given Spinel's little experiment back in episode 64. The plot thickens more and more with each revelation. However, so much brainstorming leaves everyone in need of a break, which they take with some snacks and tea. They are all delighted because they learned so much, especially when they put all their information and brains together. However, there is still much they don't know, and that remains a mystery, such as Rystal. Terapagos reacts upon hearing her name in a way that suggests it wants to see her. Something that was hinted at earlier when it saw the picture of the three explorers, which delighted it. Liko soon gets the idea to return to the crystal pool, aiming to meet Rystal. Last time the pool did not react to their pleas, but this time, since they know who they want to reach, the pool responds, allowing them to successfully summon Rystal, who is dumbfounded by the fact that she is suddenly somewhere she doesn't know, surrounded by people she doesn't know. Though she does recognize Terapagos, who she adorably calls Pagogo, and the heroes who soon appeared to greet her. She is still confused though, understandably so. Therefore, Fried explains to her who they are, why they are here, what they aim to do, and why they are with Terapagos and the heroes, as well as the reason why she's here now. Curiously, he says that she was brought to the future via the crystal pool to meet them. So this isn't her soul being summoned from the afterlife. Instead, this is her being whisked away from a point in the past and brought forward through time, maybe even from another timeline, which is a lot cooler in my opinion than simply being called from beyond the grave. Even if this goes beyond what the crystal pool supposedly does. While it might be difficult to believe such a crazy story, Rystal does, since everything she sees here is more than enough proof. She then casually drops yet another bombshell. Terapagos is her Pokemon, not Lucius's, something that several of you pointed out in the comments and that was hinted at by the fact that she is the one holding Terapagos in the opening. Plus, and this is something I realize now, 6 heroes means 6 Pokemon, the maximum amount you can carry at once. So Lucius couldn't possibly have a 7th Pokemon with him, at least not one he officially owned. However, perhaps the biggest bombshell is yet to come. Rystal refers to the baby she is holding as Layla, which turns out to be the name of Diana's mother, meaning that this baby is her mother, meaning that Rystal is her grandmother, which in turn means that Layla is Liko's great-grandmother and Rystal is her great-great-grandmother. I love that hearing this last one makes Rystal exclaim furiously that she's not that old, hilariously scaring everyone, including Layla, who she has to calm down. Learning this does make her realize why Liko and Diana have Terapagos, who I want to point out Rystal has with her in pendant form. Clearly, Layla inherited the pendant from Rystal, and in turn, Diana inherited the pendant from Layla. Though as I recall, Diana found the pendant in her attic. Finally, Liko inherited it from Diana, so Terapagos runs in the family. It's like a family heirloom, which I think it's pretty cool. But hold your Rapidashes, we are not done with the jaw droppers yet. Rystal reveals that her husband and Layla's father is none other than Lucius, meaning that Lucius is Diana's grandfather, which of course means he is Liko's great-great-grandfather, confirming the theory that I and many of you have had for a while, that Liko, Diana, and Luca are related to Lucius. My brain just about exploded here. Also, going back to what Orla said, Gibeon is from the same generation as people that are Liko's great-great-grandparents. So is he Amedio's grandfather or his great-great-grandfather? I get that Amedio is likely older than Liko, but still, the generational gap is too big. Gibeon should be his great-grandfather at least. Something's definitely fishy here. But anyways, the episode ends with Liko and company all nearly having a mental breakdown upon learning such shocking information. Their expressions and reactions all perfectly mirror how I, and I'm sure many of you, felt throughout this episode, especially here at the end. So yeah, overall, wow, just wow. Like, what more can I really say? The Pokemon anime hasn't delivered an episode this jam-packed with insane twists and turns that leave us with our eyes and jaws wide open in a very, very long time. This episode isn't just a treasure trove of revelations. It's a testament to how well-crafted and well-written this series is in terms of story, characters, and world building. to the point that it can give us an episode like this, one that impresses, amazes, and delights us without having to resort to big epic battles. All it needed to shake us to our core was masterful storytelling. Heck, I would even say I found this episode to be far more exciting and thrilling than action-packed ones like the previous one. Every prediction we made, every theory we discussed, and every clue we followed has now come together, each piece fitting perfectly into this complex puzzle. But what truly makes this episode extraordinary is not just the incredible reveals, but the way they raise the stakes, deepen the mysteries, add the meaning to everything we knew and thought we knew, and propel the narrative into uncharted territory. We have watched these characters grow, struggle, and uncover secrets, and now the stakes have never been higher or more meaningful. This episode delivered on every front, reminding us all why we love this series to begin with. As the story moves forward, we're not just along for the ride, we're part of it. The journey is just getting started, and I cannot wait to see where it takes us next. This episode is proof, at least to me, that regardless of what you might think of Horizons, especially when compared to the previous anime, I think we can all agree that its writing and storytelling are a cycle cut above its predecessor for sure. Now I'm sure you're eager to check out my reviews of the previous episodes as well, so go ahead and click on the links on screen. Also, if you enjoy what I do and want to help me keep creating content like this, please consider supporting me directly through one of the links in the description below. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.